Everybody. I hope we're having an awesome Saturday. I have to keep telling myself it's Saturday. I hope everyone had a awesome 4th of July for those of us that are in the United States. I hope the folks in Canada had an awesome Canada Day this past Monday. And if there's any other countries that celebrate anything this week, I hope it was awesome. If not, I just hope you had an awesome week. As I said, I had to keep telling myself it's Saturday because we were off on Thursday, the 4th of July. And because the company that I work for realizes nobody's going to want to be working on the Friday if the holiday's in the middle of the week, they gave us Friday off as well. So I've been off since Thursday, and I've done some work, and I still got a little bit of work that I need to get done. But it has been nice not having any type of responsibilities for the past couple days. In fact, yesterday we managed to do a surprise live. My friend Stephanie and I were on my channel here yesterday, and we sewed up month 2 of the Bumbleberry Pie block of the month. And yeah, I had a little bit of a gap. I kind of did my pinwheel blades on the outside backwards, the flying geese. So that means I have to actually, either pick out my center pinwheel, which I don't want to do because look how perfect that center dot is. The other one is actually better because there was 2 of them. The other one is over there somewhere. But I was just like, my centers are perfect, but I don't want to have to cut them. But I'm going to have to cut them. It's either that or go buy more fabric because I did the math for the rest of the block of the month. And it looks like we are using every scrap of fabric, it seems. So I am probably just going to redo the center pinwheel and hope that my updated pinwheel spins as nicely. It probably won't because everything is going the wrong direction, but it'll be fine. So far this morning, I see Judy has made it in here. She's firsties today. Good morning, Judy. I hope you're having an awesome day. We got a small handful of folks watching. I just had to peek at how many people were just so that I know how busy or quiet the chat might be. It's muggy here still in the Atlanta area. It's been strange. On Thursday, we had a nice burst of rain come through. I mean, it was torrential downpour, but the sun was also shining, which I understand is possible thanks to awesome rules of physics, but it was just confusing knowing, it's raining, the rain's coming down hard, but the sun's shining. Normally that means it's good rainbow weather, but we had no rainbows. It was still too early in the day. You need the sun to be a certain down portion of the horizon angle. That's the word, angle, in order for rainbows to occur. So it's not often you really see one in the middle of the day. So didn't get to see a rainbow. Things like that happen. And then Friday we had a couple good thunderstorms coming in, and everything was so intense that when I picked up Riley from daycare like 5:15, the sky looked like it was like 8:30 at night because it was so dark from the clouds. So it was kind of fun. Yeah, luckily Riley was just like zonked out. She started dreaming, and I wish that I was able to quickly grab my phone and get a little burp, 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 burp. But yeah, she didn't, or she stopped right whenever I grabbed my phone. I'm like, dude, that was unfair. Yeah, Judy said it cooled everything down some, but it got unbearable after. Yeah, and when I took Riley out this morning, it's still unbearable. Good morning, Jen. Good morning, Marie, who says good morning, Russ in chat. Good morning, Jeannie. So this morning, I'm going to have to fold my pattern because unlike previous sew-alongs, the Fort Worth Fabric Studio this time is a paid pattern, and I have no qualms with paying for a pattern because a lot of their patterns are just really awesome. So I'm working on, it's week 2 of As the Crow Flies, and we are making, I think these are called sawtooth stars. So we're making 4 of them. I have my fabric already cut up and done, so hopefully this goes pretty smoothly. Their patterns usually go smoothly as long as I cut things correctly. I have had a few times where I've decided to accidentally cut the fabric wrong. I giggle. Every time I've been able to recover in some way or another. So it's a little bit of the versatility of being able to sew fabric back together to make a bigger piece. My friend Stephanie, she does the patterns for or not the patterns, the tutorials. That's the word. And they are posted every Monday morning during the sew-alongs. And she also, for the first time, had a little bit of a cutting accident. She cut just a little too much off to straighten everything up. And when she did that, she was just barely short for her block. So I knew as I was cutting, I needed to be super careful with my blocks. Otherwise, I would be sewing things together. And she also showed in her tutorial that you can take a pair of pieces, get them sewn together, and when the block's done, you don't notice that there's anything wrong, and you especially won't notice it when it's quilted. So I have no issues with little gaffs. So I am going to shift over here to sewing, or as I call it, sewing cam. Probably should adjust it just a little. Good morning, Stephanie. Good morning, Sue. Good morning, Josie. Glad to see y'all have joined. Good morning, Colleen, who loves the crow fabric. I said crow fabric, not co fabric, right? Words are hard sometimes. Reminds me of a really bad joke I've heard before. And I'm not going to torture you guys this week with it. Maybe I'll torture you guys next week with it just because it's that bad, and it is a pretty long setup. So I want to make sure that if you have to deal with the joke and the setup, that it's worth the setup. So we are doing some flying geese units first, and the pattern says, I'm assuming the pattern says, yep, the pattern says draw a line from corner to corner on your fabric. I'm lazy, and I also have a laser light, and I have diagonal seam tape. So I am going to use those tools to make my block without having to line up any lines or so many lines. That makes it just a little bit better for me. This is within, like, if I had it bigger than this, I would be drawing a line because obviously my diagonal seam tape doesn't go this far out. But short pieces like this, I have no qualms of doing that without drawing a line. And I'm not doing a tutorial. As I said, Stephanie does the tutorial, as does Kathy's Cute Creations. I'm just sewing along. So don't take anything that I am saying as this is how anybody suggests doing it. Good morning, Del Marie. How are you doing today? I am a fan of anybody who has their own little shortcuts that works for them. And like I said, this laser light and the diagonal seam tape work perfect for me. The other little tip that I tell people is when you are sewing flying geese, if you sew basically a thread onto the towards the direction of the cut side. So when I'm lining up my needle in the front, I'm lining it just a hair to the left of the point. And then I am like the red line down here, it has a little bit of thickness. So instead of keeping it right on the red line, I keep it right on the right, yeah, the right side of the red line. So that basically gives me about a thread's thickness difference. And that is handy because when you are folding these over, it gives you that little bit of extra thread leeway in order to help make sure everything stays square. So I'm lining up and I'm just on this side of the red line. In fact, my point is touching it, so I'm kissing the red line. And I will show you momentarily what that does. Del Marie is piecing frankenbatting this morning. I will use franken something as a term at work, and my boss is like, what the heck does that mean? I'm like, have you not seen Frankenstein? Good morning, Kathy. I hope you're having a great day. And good morning, Ingrid. So what I do here is, as I said, I sew just a hair on the waist side of the block. So when I open it up, I can line these corners up exactly and then press, and I will have a perfect flying goose quilt unit. As my iron is not currently prepped. But yeah, I will be talking to my boss and I'll say, yeah, I Frankenstein some code together. And she goes, I don't understand what that means. I'm like, Frankenstein, yep. Take body parts from a whole bunch of places, and obviously it doesn't have a brain, so neither does my code. Good morning, Laura, who says hi, Russ and everyone. So how is the weather where everybody is? As I said, it's muggy here. It's already up to 85 degrees. So I'm showing this right now. When it pressed practically perfect. I have never used Frankenbatting, mostly because my scraps end up being used for smaller projects. Laura says it's supposed to be 113 in Arizona today, have an excessive heat warning. So, yeah, we aren't at 113 and we have an excessive heat warning as well. So once you have your first piece on, you want to trim the back layers. Make sure you pull back the front. Otherwise, you'll be trimming too much off. And you'll be yelling at yourself like I did once. Or 7 times. Not with this project, though. Yet. And if you're one of those crazy people who loves to take every little piece of scrap, you could always sew about a 1/2 inch on this side, and you have an itty bitty half square triangle. I'm not that crazy. I have a firm philosophy that scraps are okay to toss if they don't give you joy. And scraps don't give me joy, so they're okay to toss. Although there's a lady who works at one of my local shops. She loves scraps, and she said, well, why don't you just store all your scraps in little Ziploc containers and give them to me? And I said, you mean I don't have to throw them away? I can just give them to you? Okay, you don't realize what kind of problem you just incurred, but she is going to be getting all of my scraps at some point in the future. Jen says it's hot and humid and waiting for Barrel's arrival. Hopefully you stay safe. I know there's like 2 different philosophies about staying through a hurricane. It's either you say, okay, I'm gone, or you've been through enough hurricanes that you're like, okay, yeah, whatever. And the folks who have been through enough hopefully still stay safe. I know if you look at, like, here's the thousands of acres and here's that little piece that got damaged, which is all the storm news companies are going to show you is the bad places. But I've been through Hurricane Hugo, and for the most part we were okay, but there was a couple houses that we know that didn't quite make it. Dale says, good morning, Russ. 72 there west of Chicago. Beautiful day. Ooh. Josie says it's low 90s in Charlotte. Hopefully get some rain this afternoon. Oh, Laura, I'm kind of jealous. She and the hubby are going antiquing today. That way they can enjoy the day in air-conditioned store. When I lived in the Boston area, we would go to the movies in the summer just so that we could have a little bit of air conditioning, because they don't particularly believe in air-conditioned houses up there for some reason. Good morning, John from Geistcraft 2. I hope you are having an awesome shopping-filled day, because yeah, I've decided you need to buy something today. Good morning, Amy. Laura loves taking tiny scraps and sewing them together randomly to make fabric for quilt blocks. I haven't ventured there. I like a little bit of order in my projects, mostly because my life is chaos at work. So any place that I can get a semblance of order, I will take. So that's why when I do projects, they tend to be scrappy, as in I bought a fat quarter bundle from it, not I have these 17 fabrics that just randomly are sitting around my house, which on one hand, if I like all the fabrics, they technically should go together, because most people gravitate towards like a certain color or a certain style, so that makes everything that they do have a tendency to go well together. I tend to have crazy um, things that I like. So, I like Tula Pink, which, she is awesome. Her fabrics are gorgeous. And then I like Camille Roskelley, who is a totally different style of fabric. And I'm like, I don't know if the two of them, those two sets of fabrics, would go well together. That was bad of me. I should not have been having the needle going up and down while the scissors were flying from my hand. John says Phoenix is going to be 116 today, but in the mountains it's only going to be 100. Yeah. Although I remember however many years ago it was, friends of mine had moved down here from New England. They wanted a change of scenery, and I said, hey, you can stay here until you guys find jobs and decide that it's time for you to move out. They ended up finding jobs, which was awesome, and they found an apartment, and they moved July 4th weekend, and it was the hottest days that we had in years. I think it was like 104 when they were moving out, and it's not the dry 104 that Phoenix has. It was a muggy 104. They almost died. I mean, it's mostly figuratively that I'm saying that, but they were very dehydrated at points during their move, and I said, I'm not helping you. I'm not stupid to do work like this in 104 degrees. Good morning, Stephen. I hope you're having a great day up there in Canada. I try. What chips did I try this week? I tried the Well, I ate the ketchup chips because I knew that they weren't in my favorite list. And then I looked at the expiration date, and it had expired a couple weeks ago. I'm sorry, not expiration, Best Buy. So I joked to my sister, I was like, if I die, it's your fault. And then last night I was feeling snacky. So I tried the roasted chicken chips. And my sister said those are her favorites. And I understand why. They were tasty. I am still jealous that, we don't have common flavors across countries. And for anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, Canada has different flavors of chips that we don't have. And Steven had brought down a few flavors at Stephanie's retreat back in December that we attended. And my sister was up in Nova Scotia not this past weekend, a couple weekends ago. And I half jokingly said, hey, you should bring me back some all dressed chips. Later found out that she didn't realize that I had tried all dressed and liked them. So she just gave me a sampler pack. Where I guess she went to maybe the gas station or supermarket and just found a bunch of chips that she thought that I would like. And I was like, Yeah, I've had the all dressed. So she knows next time just to get me probably more all dressed. But after this whole set of flavors, I'm making a list of these are the flavors that I like and these are what I want more of, and see if I can get her to give me more chips. Steven said he's never had the chicken chips, and he's not really a fan of the ketchup. The ketchups are just too sweet, and his favorites are just plain old salt and vinegar. If I have to, um, I'm sorry. Before they changed our chips at work, we used to get Miss Vicky's chips, which are the kettle chips. Those had really good salt and vinegar, but they've now changed us over to baked lays, and I don't like any of them. So I try to make sure I get to the snacks as early as I can and grab my smart or not smart skinny popcorn, which again is false advertisement. I've eaten so many bags of that and I'm still not skinny. So now that I have some flying geese made, they're going to go like this in a star. We've got some crows in the center. And then we have, I think they call this sparkle around the corners. And we have a star. Steven says, all flavors are good with spray cheese. Yes, they are. And yes, Dale, this morning I had McDonald's, not Chick-fil-A. I had the Chick-fil-A yesterday for breakfast, but my um one of my local Chick-fil-A's is doing a what are they calling it? A mobile through event. Uh, they are trying to encourage more and more people to use mobile through, which is mobile ordering in the drive-through. You don't necessarily have to speak with anybody. You basically grab your do your mobile app, and when you get to the Chick-fil-A, there is a barcode to scan. You scan the barcode, it checks you in, and then you just go to the front window to pick up your food. So they're doing an event this afternoon where they're giving away freebies and stuff through that event. And I figure I have to take Percy this afternoon to get his Silencia shot. And I'm hoping that when I get through with that, it'll be the perfect time to swing by Chick-fil-A and grab some nuggets or a milkshake or something, depending on how hungry I am, and see what kind of freebies they have in the mobile through. So instead of eating Chick-fil-A twice for 2 meals in a row, I am saving a little bit of stuff with that. I also heard a rumor, y'all, with Chick-fil-A. And I'm only calling it a rumor because I've not seen any marketing to confirm it. And I have been basically on a personal campaign for many years to bring it back. But I have heard rumors that they are bringing back for a limited time the banana pudding milkshake, which is as good as it sounds. They had it for 2 years as their summer milkshake, and just basically discontinued in favor of that nasty peach thing. And I just call it a nasty peach thing because I don't like peaches. It's a personal thing. But peaches are just vile, in my opinion. I know some people love them. You're good. But yeah, we haven't had the banana pudding milkshake in a while. But I saw an article yesterday, and as long as it's not fake news, in a couple weeks we are going to be seeing the banana pudding milkshake back in Chick-fil-A. And for some reason my fabric is not pushing through, so if you basically lift up the back of your presser foot with a little piece of fabric, they also have a hump jumper that will help. And the whole reason why this got stuck is because I've got the thickness of the flying geese up in that corner, so it wasn't happy at first. So if you ever see anybody just shove something in the back of their presser foot, that's what they're doing, is they're trying to get the little bit of leverage. Steven says, okay. Y'all are misspelling Chick-fil-A. It bothers me, so I'm going to give a little bit. It's Chick, as we all know, but it's Phil as an F-I-L, and then just the letter A. And the reason why it's like that is because they want to accentuate their A+ customer service. That is their goal. So that's how people can remember how it's spelled. It is pronounced just like filet, as in filet of fish, or filet mignon, or it's a chicken filet, but it is spelled F-I-L-A. And it's just one of those weird things that bothers me. But Steven says he's going to have to check out the one in his area. The moment that I see that they are actually available, I will be letting everybody know, so you can go to your local Chick-fil-A and order them up. I am sad that they only come in small milkshakes now. It seems like all the companies have gotten rid of the larger milkshakes, even though they're not really that large. And I'm like, if I want something, I don't want this much. I don't want a shot glass of a milkshake. I want a serving, something that tastes good, something that is enough to fill me up. But now you only get smalls. Steven says in Canada it's spelled Chick-fil-A. Dale loves peach cobbler blizzards from DQ, and Amy doesn't look like peaches either, but a banana pudding milkshake sounds delish. It is. It even has crumbled up Nilla wafers in it, assuming they're going to use the same recipe that they used a couple years ago. I sent that to a friend of mine who I used to work with, and I said, if this is true, I'm very disappointed because we no longer work in a building with a Chick-fil-A in the food court downstairs. Which I guess is also a good thing, which means I'm not going to get fatter from Chick-fil-A milkshakes. Because in the Christmas time, when they have the peppermint chocolate chip milkshake, I would get at least 2 or 3 a week because they were so good. And I think last year I had maybe 2 peppermint chocolate chip milkshakes because Chick-fil-A is not convenient. Milkshake is needed in this heat. Yes and no. I don't think it's really good to drink milk in heat. I always feel icky, whether it's frozen milk or um, liquid milk. But that's me. I know everybody's different. Good morning, Kathleen. How are you today? I'm just over here pressing the last bit of the sawtooth. So I have everything together, and because I chain pieced, they are all still stuck and they're in the right spots. Everything looks just right. So I can sew these last bits together. And because everything's there, you can nest your seams just perfect. Once I get it started, that's when I will trim the threads that are keeping these together. That way I know there's no chance of me accidentally shifting anything once I've gotten it the way I like it. And then, as everybody says, if you sew on this side, like a thread or two on the seam side of this X, you will not lose your point. So that's what I am aiming for. And then trying to keep these lined up. And there's too much bulk. I kept my point. I mean, there's that tad little orange here, but I have a point. And I think the point is a little bit more important than seeing the orange. And then same thing again. If you sew with the flying geese on top, you can control it a little bit better. If you sew it with the bottom, it's more of a sew and pray, which I do a lot as well. Uh, Good morning, Pat. Brian says, love that fabric. I do not remember exactly what the fabric line is. Wait, it's something Halloween. And I can't remember because I saw it and I was like, that's an interesting name. But this is a kit from Fort Worth Fabric Studio, who is also providing the patterns. In fact, in the chat, I am going to put the pattern link so you can go to Fort Worth Fabric Studio and support them. You can buy the pattern if you want just the pattern. I believe they have a few kits left. If Nightbot is going to answer the request for the pattern. There we go. They are awesome with their patterns. They are charging for this one because it's a lot of work to put these patterns together. And I support them in their idea. It's a very inexpensive pattern for what you're getting. Or you can buy the kit from them. You can buy the pattern and sew from your stash. however you choose. As I said, I've got the kit from Fort Worth because I do not want to sit there and try to translate fabrics from what the pattern says to sophisticated Halloween. That's the word. Sophisticated was the term that I was like, that's a pretty cool way to call it. But I'm not a fan of trying to come up with alternate fabrics when there's as many fabrics as there are in this pattern. I think there's probably 10 or 12 fabrics. My cutting chart is over there, so I don't remember off the top of my head. But there's a lot of fabrics. So it's easier to say, I'm just going to go buy a kit and let somebody else have done all that work. Now, this seam, I have two choices, and it's whichever one's going to be the least annoying, because there is no pressing instructions, and that's fine. I could either open it up like this, and then I'm just going to have a little bit of bulk in the center here. But the top and bottom are happy, or I can make the center happy, and then the top and bottom aren't as happy. So I think there's too much bulk here, so I'm just going to point this to the center when I press the seam. I think Stephanie went the opposite direction. And because this is the last seam, if I need to push it the other direction, I can. I would just need to put some magic juice on it. Magic juice is the Acorn Easy Press pen. Stephanie sells it in her shop. It's basically like a highlighter, and it's filled with starch alternative. And you just press it on the seam, draw it on the seam, and you're only starching the seam. It lets you keep the rest of your block pretty good. It doesn't shrink your block. That's the words I'm trying to think of. Because if you have not starched your fabric and then you get your fabric wet or steam it or spray it after it has been cut, it will shrink. But if you want flat seams without having to do that, the Acorn Precision Piecing Tool, Easy Press. But I think these are pretty flat for now. And there is a completed block. John from Guys Craft 2 says he buys too many kits, but it saves so much time from trying to rematch from similar fabrics for the same effect. Yes. If I find a pattern, most patterns that I gravitate for are calling for yardage of 2 or 3 fabrics, not 20 different fabrics that you got to get various sizes from. So there is this. I have a few more to go because we got to make 4. I have done the magic of television and pieced all of my other flying geese, and so I can sew more. But Kathleen has asked, can I show it on camera? So this is the block, fully done. It's a simple sawtooth star. I love the crow fabrics in the center. That's just like a lot of fun. The spider webs make it really awesome. I do not like spiders, but there it is. And the black fabric just helps make it pop. So I'm going to quickly make a second one. I might make all four, depending on how long we go, because Percy's appointment isn't until 12:30, and I've managed to figure out how to get him in his carrier in 2 minutes flat. It's a lot of sneaking up on him, but I've managed to figure out how to get him in. So I've set up another star here. There are two pieces over here that you can't see, or three pieces that you can't see. What I always do is I pull off that extra row beforehand, and let's sew this up. Kathleen says coolness. Dale says very nice. I do love their patterns. Although I can say I'm guilty of not having any of them quilted yet. I've completed a good number of their sew-alongs for the quilt tops. I just haven't gotten them on the long arm yet. And I think I'm going to chain piece the rest of these stars. So these are the pieces for star number 2. Star number 3. Let me just grab the pieces real quick. Have a good one, John. Happy shopping. So these are just the pieces that I need for this, for the second, or technically the third block. So with everybody's holidays having been awesome, I hope you've gotten a lot of sewing done this weekend so far, if you've had a long weekend. I managed to get to the quilt shop yesterday, and I bought some fabric to work on the whale block that is a free pattern from Art East Quilt Company. If I have a chance to finish getting it cut up before Stephanie's live, so I can work on it while she's live. And also, while I was at the quilt shop, I bought a few other fabrics for other projects that I'm not going to say what it was for because they might be listening. I like being evil sometimes, and this is a good reason to be evil. So there's things that I'm just keeping out until the quilt gets delivered. Kathleen asked if I got yesterday's block fixed. No. I did do the math to see how much extra fabric we have. And it looks like we are using every scrap possible. Because some of the fabrics, it tells us to use more than we, or I'm sorry, the months tell us to use more than we had purchased. It's not much, but so I'm like, okay, I'm probably not going to be able to use any scraps unless I take a trip up to the shop that I purchased it from. Just because, if I go up there, I will have an opportunity to purchase more than I need. But I haven't decided if I want to take a trip up there Tuesday or maybe next Saturday yet or not. So right now my plan is I'm going to rip out the center pinwheel, which has a perfect point, and just rotate everything from there. So I'll probably do that sometime this afternoon after I get other things cut, because that'll only take a few minutes. And it's just what I'm doing now. After that, it's getting all of the pieces sewn in like a 9-patch format. So I don't expect that to take long. But I just got to decide, am I going to go up to Cumming, Georgia to pick up some extra fabric? And it's really, if I do go up there, I'm going to buy all the extra pieces so that each month I would have the correct sizes of fabric that the block of the month says. It ends up being an extra, I think it's a total of about 5 yards across. That doesn't sound right, but it does sound right at the same time. So basically, it sounds like they're telling us to use scraps from previous cuts, and if I'm not a perfect cutter, then I'm going to end up not having enough. But I also need to talk to Stephanie to see if she wants me to pick her up some fabric too. That way, it saves a little bit, and some of these cuts are small enough that you can't order that small of a cut online from them. So I was like, if I go up there, and if we only need a quarter of a yard, if I go up there and buy a half a yard, come home, cut it in half, we both got a quarter of a yard that we would need. Since I know she's doing the block of the month with me. But I haven't had a chance to get an answer from her yet. I know she was spending a lot of the day yesterday with her family, so I don't expect immediate answers. Plus, I wasn't planning on going until, like I said, either Tuesday or Saturday, so it gives her plenty of time to make the decision if she's going to look through the pattern herself to see if she needs the extra fabric, or if she thinks that she can do without. Because like I said, all I did was look at the amounts that is on the fabric or on the months, and not necessarily look at the cuts that we are cutting from all of the fabrics. So for all I know, I've got plenty, or for all I know, I'm going to be slightly short. And I trust the pattern writer that, she's probably right, that We're just using up every bit of scrap. But we will see. Good morning, Terry. I hope you're having an awesome day. Kathleen says that she had to get more fat 8s for her Saturday sampler. At least, it's easily obtainable. I haven't had to get Oops fabric, or I'm sorry, I haven't had to go buy Oops fabric yet for Saturday sampler this time. I've had to go buy many other times. But at least this time, so far, and it's because they've been generous with their fabric, what they've been giving us. I have made a few miscuts because I was cutting at like 8 p.m. or something like that, when I know very well I should not be cutting at that time. But I still do it. Oh, Kathleen drives by the store every... Okay, that would be dangerous for me because I would be wanting to go in every day. I did give them a sneak peek at what was going to be my show and tell this month, which is the pinwheel beach bag that Shannon wrote the pattern for their retreat a couple weeks ago, since I got that done. But I want to get the matching quilt to go with it. That way I can show the whole project together. Terry's saying that they're getting ready to go to a winery. It's a beautiful day in Missouri. I've not been to a winery. I don't really drink wine. I mean, I like some of the whites, but I don't like the reds. So for the most part, a winery is lost on me. My sister's been to one or two, and she's kind of said the same thing. Because a lot of what they do is reds, a lot of those flavors get lost on her. I think I have just enough time to piece one more. I'm getting this ironed up. In Dahlonega, where Stephanie's December retreat is, they had quite a few like winery areas, which were obviously not functional in December. But we're like, that would be an interesting like weekend trip or something to do because it's gorgeous up there. So it could only be more gorgeous in the summertime. Trimming my clips. I did express my disappointment at the shop yesterday. And It's, I'm going to be clear, it's facetious disappointment. I did not see myself on the rotating digital picture frame at the register. Normally, when I'm in the shop, I get to see myself on the picture frame because that's all the Saturday samplers show and tells that they have had, and I've had monthly show and tell for ages. So if they have, I'm going to say 30 show and tells a month, then I have basically a 1 in 30 chance of being up there. And just about every time I go into the shop, I see myself at the register. And this time I did not. And like I said, it's facetious disappointment because, they're still an awesome shop no matter what. But there was a couple gals there that when they first ran into me, they thought I was a husband of somebody there, somebody else shopping, because I had fabric in my hand. So they thought maybe I was just roaming and holding fabric for a wife or something. And I was like, no, 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 this is all for me. And they were a little confused at first. But when I showed them some of the stuff that I've done, they were very impressed. So they were, like I said, they were checking out in front of me. So I was hoping that I would have been able to say, oh, look, there's me. But I didn't see me. Which means I'm going to have to file an official complaint with the owner of the shop and say, hey, I didn't get to see myself. As I said, it's all in good fun. I love them there. I don't care if I get to see myself or not, but it's always fun when I do. And it's also been fun because I'm like, that looks familiar, and then I will look at the face attached to it and realize, oh, that's me. Okay, that wasn't quite as warm as I thought it was because my iron had turned off. But I'm not going to undo that or redo it yet. So I have a second block finished. So two crow blocks done, and I have two of them that I just got to press and sew a pair of seams on. And this month's blocks will be done. We find out Monday what the next block is. I think that's the one that has some of the tiny pieces, so I'm excited to see what they are going to be. Before I go, though, Brian just asked, what machine am I using? I am using a Brother and Novus BQ3050. I think it's got a similar model in the Baby Lock series because Baby Lock rents out space from Brother to build their machines. I also tell people, get the machine that works best for you. This works perfect for me. It's got features that I like. You don't need to buy a machine of this price if it's not in your budget. Do not buy anything that's out of your budget. I have done just as much good stuff on a Brother 6000i CS6000i, I think is what it is. It's like a $200 machine on the Amazons, and that is a gorgeous machine as well. But some of the requirements that I had, it was like, I like the fact that it's got a thread cutter. I like I mean, it's got 700 stitches, but I use two, forward and then backwards every now and then. Occasionally a zigzag. So there's some things that, uh, you can't really buy a bigger machine with some of these features unless you get a million stitches. I have pondered a straight stitch, but also I'm like, I like this machine. So always just use what you like, whatever's good for you. Don't let if you go to a sewing machine dealer, don't let them upsell you on features that you don't think you want. But there's also features that you don't think you want that you're like, this is awesome. So there's that too. But use a machine that works for you. A lot of places, if you're going to go buy a machine, outside of the big box stores, they will let you try the machines. So always, if you can, try the machine before you buy it. But that, I think, is going to be it for this. Now it's afternoon. I have to go wrangle up Percy so that he can go get his monthly arthritis shot. And I got to remember to schedule him for next month as well. I think this is a convenient time for me to go get it for him since Saturdays are usually fairly quiet for me. I hope everyone has an awesome day. Get some sewing done. Make sure you visit all the YouTube content creators out there. We've had a long weekend, and I know a lot of us have been randomly showing up the past couple days in your lives, and we appreciate all the love. And now that we're actually officially in the weekend, all of us are probably going to be doing our normal weekend lives that we do. So give everybody lots of love. And stay cool out there. If you're under a heat advisory, drink lots of water. Bye.